everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti and today I am here with a project tutorial for a change. If you're new here, I'm the face, the voice, and the hands behind all the content here on the channel and the blog InfinityCraftingCompany.com. Today I am here to show you guys how to make my most recent pattern release, the chain link cowl, which is back here on my mannequin. I didn't feel like wearing it today. I thought it would look better back on the mannequin. It actually is a pattern that features two styles, so this is the second style. It turns into a scarf, or if you want to take the triangles down, it converts into a cowl. It's super easy. It's a fun tutorial, so I'm just gonna jump in without further ado. What you're gonna need for this tutorial is 3 balls of Hobie Metallico yarn. You're gonna need 2 crochet hooks, a 7mm and a 5mm hook. You're going to want your scissors, and you are going to want a darning needle and of course your stitch markers. So, alright, let's jump down to my table. Alright, I have my pattern handy, and you can find this pattern on my blog for free, or you can find it in my shop directly on my website. Alright, so I have my ball of yarn here, and I have it nice and center pulled. The center string is easy to find on these yarn balls, which is super great. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the slip knot. Oops. Going to start off with a slip knot. Alright, and then we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, and what this chain of 7 is, it counts up 3 for a double crochet. Then there's a chain 4 between there, and then we're going to go ahead, we're going to yarn over, and we are going to double crochet into that first chain we made. Just like that. And it makes this little teardrop hole. Now if you've purchased my fishnet shawl pattern, this is gonna remind you of that just a little bit, but once we get towards the top, the composition changes very slightly, and then we go back to kind of that methodology. Alright, so now what I'm gonna do is chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to yarn over. We're going to double crochet into the chain space. Alright, and we're going to chain 4. And 4. And then we are going to count up 3 chains. So from that first one, there's 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to yarn over, and we're going to double crochet into that third chain. Alright, and that is row 2. Alright, now for row 3, we're going to chain up 7. 6 and 7. Alright, we're going to yarn over. I'm going to insert our hook into that first chain space, and we are going to double crochet. Alright, then we're going to chain 4. And we are going to yarn over and double crochet into the next chain space. Alright, and now we're going to chain 4 yet again. 1, and we're going to count up 3 chains on the side here. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to yarn over and double crochet into that. Alright, and this is what the end of row 3 looks like. Now for my pattern, I wrote it in a way where it's like one size fit all up to a 1 or 2x, so to speak. So if you wanted to make this pattern bigger, you would do more rows than the pattern indicates, or if you need to make it a little smaller, you would do just a few less rows than the pattern indicates. So for rows 4 through 21 in my pattern, I am basically repeating the same thing that I just did for rows 2 and 3. I'm just, each row, I'm adding an additional chain space, essentially. So when I get to row 21, I should have 21 of these holes going across here. And I did that because it was easy to do the division. You know, just kind of divided the shawl up into 7 chain spaces when I got around to adding the collar. So I'll explain that a little bit more later. We're going to chain up 7. Turn your work. Going to yarn over, insert your hook into that first chain space, and we're going to double crochet. Alright, then we're going to chain 4 again. Yarn over, and we're going to insert our hook into that next chain space. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, or double crochet, you know. Alright, we're going to chain 4 again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain space and make a double crochet. Alright, now we are going to count up 3 chains here from this previous chain 7 space. So 1, 2, 3. Make sure you chain your 4. And we are going to yarn over and double crochet into that 3rd chain at the top of the previous chain space. Okay, so now I'm going to work rows 5 through 21, and then I'm going to come back and show you guys how to make the hole for the collar, and then how to work your way back down the other end of the shawl. Alright guys, now I am back. I have completed my front panel all the way up to row 21. So that means I have 21 of these holes going across here, which is important because I wanted to make sure that this is divisible by 7, and you'll understand why once we get to the neck part. So what we want to do here is actually do a row in here where it's completely the same stitch count. So I want to have another row where I only have 21 of these holes going across here. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. For row 22, according to my pattern, I'm to chain up 7 as normal. 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm going to turn my work. And I'm going to yarn over and double crochet into that first chain space as normal. And I'm going to continue doing what I've done for all the preceding rows all the way until the end of this row, and then I'll show you guys what to do there. Alright, and I'm at the end of my row, and according to the pattern, I am supposed to yarn over and double crochet into the top of that chain 3 there. And when you finish this row, you should still have 21 holes, so it doesn't hurt to do a recount. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Alright, so now here comes row 23, the magical part. So as I said before, you want to make sure that you have a row count or a hole count to the point where you can divide it evenly into 3 so that your collar is fully in the center. So let me zoom out here. So before I get to chaining or doing anything else, I'm going to place stitch markers on row 22 that we just finished. So I'm going to count from 7. I'm going to count from 1 to 7 on either side of my project because I know I have 21 holes across here. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to place a handy stitch marker here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on this other side, I'm going to also place a stitch marker. Alright. Now we can start working up the stitches. So what I'm going to do is chain up 7. Alright, and I'm going to start working the pattern as normal. So that's yarn over and double crochet into that first chain space. Oops. Three, 4. I'm going to work into the next chain space. Going to work into the next chain space. Alright, and the pattern says to do this 6 times, so you're going to have a total of 7 holes up to the stitch marker. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, and we're going to work into that hole that contains the stitch marker. Alright, so your piece should look like this so far. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 28. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Alright, now we are going to skip all these holes between the stitch markers. So it should be 7 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, never hurts to double check. Alright, and we're going to yarn over, and we are going to double crochet into the hole where the second stitch marker is. Alright, now we can go back to working our pattern as normal. Six. And now that I'm at the end of my row, I'm going to chain my last 4 and then I'm going to double crochet into the top of that chain 3 from the previous row. Alright, and then I'm going to show you guys what this looks like here. So you may have noticed in my pattern I had a picture that was pretty similar to this. Now on to row 24. So what we're going to do here, we're going to chain our 7. And we're going to start working our row as normal up to the big chain space that we just made. Alright, now I am back to where my stitch marker is, down a row below. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am going to yarn over and double crochet into this big chain space here. Alright, and I'm going to get another stitch marker and put right here so I can keep my count, because this is our row, our hole number 1. We're trying to get all 7 of those holes back across this chain here. So now I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to skip 3 chains, so I'm just going to move this guy all the way back to the first chain of this chain space. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to double crochet into the 4th one. And since this chain consists of 28 chains, you know, skipping and working into every 4th chain should give you a total of 7 of these holes. So alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th one. Yarn over, double crochet into that chain. And we're going to do this all the way across this huge chain. And then I'll meet you back when we're ready to go back to the other side. Alright, when you get to this point where you have a few chains left, I have like 3 chains left in this 28 chain space, I'm going to chain 4, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to double crochet into the following chain 4 space. Alright, and it doesn't hurt to do a little counting along the way. It's very easy to accidentally add an extra loop to this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So now we are to make 7 more of these holes. So you're going to just continue the pattern as normal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Find that next chain space. 2, 3, 4. Let me see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is why I like to keep lots and lots of stitch markers around me in my studio, because you never know when you might want to pop an extra one onto your project. Alright. So I've made 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. We are going to make our last loop by double crocheting onto the top of the chain 3 from the previous row. So 1, 2, 3. Alright, and now we have the little neck hole here. Easy peasy. For row 25, we are going to chain 7. I'm going to turn our work here. Going to yarn over. We're going to start working this row like all the other rows. Working into that first chain space. Alright, and we are going to repeat this 19 more times. So we're going to just work as normal all the way until we reach the end of this row. Alright, so I am almost at the end of my row. I'm about to make the hole number 21. I'm sorry, hole number 20. So I'm going to do that, finish it off with the double crochet. Now, typically here we would have added 2 more holes to increase the pattern, but you don't want to do that. We want to maintain our row count of 21 holes across here. So what we're going to do from this point is we're going to chain 4, and we are going to make a nice little stretch over here. We're going to yarn over, and we are going to count up 3, 1, 2, 3 on this chain from the previous row. We're just going to double crochet into that. Now we're going to start bringing the pattern inward so that it comes back down into a point just like the front. Alright, so now for that we're going to move on to row 26. For row 26 we're going to chain up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn our work. And we are going to skip this first chain space entirely. We are not going to work into the chain space where the chain is technically coming from. We're going to go over to the second one and we're going to create a double crochet. And this decreases our row count from 21 to 20 so far. Alright? And so now we are going to start working the row like normal until we reach the end of the row. Alright, and again, once you reach the end of the row, what you're going to do is you are going to count up 1, 2, 3 chains from the previous row, and you're going to, after you've chained your 4, you're going to yarn over and double crochet into that chain, top of that chain 3. Alright, now that I'm at the end of my row here, I've just made my last double crochet and I'm looking at this chain here and I'm going to count up 3 and I'm just going to yarn over and double crochet into that one. No chain 4 or anything right there. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is just chain my 7 so we can move on to the next row. Alright, turn our work. And I'm just now coming to the end of my first skein. So now it's time to pop open that second one so I can get started. Alrighty, now that we are moving on to the next row, I'm going to yarn over. Alright, now that we're on the next row, I've chained up my 7 and I'm going to yarn over. We're not working into this first little stitch here. We're going to work into this next chain space. With a double crochet. And we're just going to work this row as normal until we reach the end, and we'll be decreasing this row also. Alright, as I mentioned before, I was able to get up to almost a fourth of row 27 out of one ball of this yarn. So now I am ready to reconnect it, and it's kind of okay to play yarn chicken with this with this particular pattern, but I did want to go ahead and get my new yarn connected. So just finding that center string here. Here we go. Alright, so I've chained 4, and I'm just going to yarn over and work into the next space. I'm going to create, let me zoom in just a little bit here. I'm going to create part of a double crochet here. I'm not going to complete it, but I am going to instead pick up my new yarn and hook it around there, and then complete my stitch with the new strand. And once I get a couple stitches away, I'll tie this off, and then later on I can sew in these ends to secure that stitch better. Alright, I wanted to show you guys how to reconnect or connect new yarn to your project with this pattern. Alright, I've made my last little hole here, or big hole, and now I am just going to yarn over yet again, and I'm going to come over here to this chain from the previous row. I'm going to count up 3, and I'm just going to yarn over and double crochet into that 3rd chain. Alright, and now we're going to chain up 7. And move on to row 28. So as you can see, this is coming inward. Let me zoom out. This is starting to come inward for us here. We haven't done a whole lot of decreasing yet, but it's coming along. So we are going to work row 28 much like we worked row 27. So after you chain your 7, you skip that first little hole there, and you want to yarn over and double crochet into the chain space there. And you're going to work as normal until the end, and then you are going to double crochet into the top of that chain 3 from the previous row. Alright, so I just finished off row 28, and I'm moving on to row 29. So for row 29 through, let's scroll a little bit here, through 35, you're basically going to keep decreasing in the same manner on both ends and just creating the pattern as normal in the middle section. And I'll meet you guys back for that very last row so I can show you guys what to do there. Alright, so I've just finished row 35. I have this single space in here where I created the little fishnet hole, and now I am ready to finish this off with row 36. So row 36 says to chain 7, oops, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, and I'm going to be working into this chain space here. Now I tried initially to double crochet here and it just didn't look right to me, so I went ahead and wrote in to double crochet into that 3rd chain, as with the rest of the pattern. Alright, and I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, of these chains over here, and I'm just going to slip stitch into that. Alright, and now we can fasten off. So now we're ready to move on to the collar, which is super simple. It's 13 rows, and we're just going to get started here. Okay, round 1 says to connect the yarn. So you can literally go into any of these spaces to connect your yarn. I'm going to work through the top of one of the double crochets. It's kind of at random here. And I am going to reconnect my yarn to the project. And chain 1 to secure. Alright, and then it says to make 74 single crochet into each chain and stitch. So what I did when I made mine, I actually did work into the chains and the tops of the double crochets all the way around until I got to 74 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And yes, I worked into the first stitch where my chain 1 is coming out of. Alright. Alright, and now I am making my 74th single crochet right in this chain. And I'm closing the round with a slip stitch into that first single crochet of the row. Now that I've done that, I can get rid of my 7mm crochet hook, and I switched to a 5mm in the original pattern. So that's what I'm going to use here. And I'm going to chain up 3. 1. For round 2, what we're going to do is we're going to skip this stitch that our chain 3 is coming out of, and we're going to work into the next stitch with just a plain old double crochet. And we're going to double crochet in each stitch around the project. Alright, I'm making my last double crochet of this round here, and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the row. I'm going to use my alternative join, which is just yarning over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook into this outer ladder, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and I'm going to do that one more time. Or you could just chain 3. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, this counts as my chain of 3, so I'm going to look at this next stitch of my row, and I'm just going to do a front post double crochet. That's just yarning over, going behind and through the other side of the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you double crochet as normal. Okay, and that brings those stitches forward. Then you're going to do a back post double crochet. So then you are going to go behind your work, put your hook between those 2 stitches, go in front of the next stitch and back behind there. Then you're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you're going to double crochet as normal. Alright, and we're going to do that all the way around, and this is your pattern repeat for rows 3 through 13. And I'm just going to place a little stitch marker here just to indicate where row 3 is, because sometimes, you know, it starts blurring together when you do ribbing. I don't care if I'm knitting or crocheting, it just happens like that. So just so I can keep count, I'm going to place that stitch marker there. Alright, and I'll meet you guys back when I am done. Alright, now I am coming to the end of my row. I'm just ready to close it. So I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch, into the top of the next stitch, just normally. And I'm going to chain 1 and bind off. Alright, now at this point, I'm not going to bore you with weaving in all these ends that I have on my cowl, but I will weave them in and I'll show you what the finished product looks like on the mannequin. Alright, so this is what the finished product looks like. It's slightly shorter in the back, and that was kind of on purpose, because it is a cowl and you can either tuck it away in the back. I also kind of wanted the option to turn this thing into something else entirely. So you can, in fact, turn it into a scarf just by folding the ends of the triangles around the piece like that, and kind of tucking them underneath the collar. Kind of works out like that as well. I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. If so, don't forget to leave this video a thumbs up. Check me out on Instagram. I have all the pictures and progress shots of this over there. You can also check out my blog and sign up for the newsletter, because when patterns like this come out on the blog, people on my newsletter get notified first. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, guys, and until next time, happy making.